Hey everyone. Ever feel like you're tiptoeing through a conversation, especially in English?
Oh, tell me about it.
Well, today
Yeah.
we're gonna take a deep dive into the art of small talk.
Okay.
Those quick chats that can either make or break a first impression.
Yeah.
Like, think about it, those quick chats with your taxi driver.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you're at a party and you're just,
Right.
trying to make conversation, or even just waiting in line at the store.
Mm-hmm.
Those little moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna unpack a real-life conversation
Oh,
and unlock the secrets to smooth English, small talk,
love it.
and hopefully help you avoid those awkward silences.
Sounds good.
So what's so interesting about the conversation we're going to look at today?
Well, what I find really fascinating is how both people use certain phrases and words
Okay.
to keep the conversation flowing smoothly.
Okay.
It's not just about giving information back and forth.
Right.
It's about making a connection, building a rapport.
Gotcha. So let's set the scene. You've just gotten off a long flight.
Yeah.
You hop into a taxi.
Yeah.
You tell the driver where you need to go.
Okay.
And boom, the conversation starts.
Right. And it starts with a simple, where are you flying in from?
Mm-hmm.
Seems harmless enough, right?
Yeah.
But then the driver adds, you don't look very Chinese to me, if you don't mind me saying so.
Okay. That could be a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with that, if you don't mind me saying so?
Well, that phrase is like my magic key.
Okay.
It's a way to bring up something that could be sensitive.
Yeah.
Especially in English-speaking cultures, being too direct can sometimes sound a bit rude.
Okay.
So by saying that little phrase,
Yeah.
it's like you're showing that you're aware
Uh-huh.
that what you're saying could be taken the wrong way.
Gotcha.
And you're trying to be respectful.
So it's like a way of saying, hey, I know this might be a bit forward, but I'm honestly just curious.
Exactly. It kind of softens the blow and
Yeah.
it invites the other person to respond
Okay.
without feeling like they're trapped.
Gotcha.
And, you see the driver does something similar later on, too.
Yeah.
When he asks about the passenger's age,
Right.
he starts by saying, excuse me if I'm being a bit nosy, but...
Whoa, asking a woman her age, isn't that like a big no-no in English culture?
You're right. It's usually considered impolite to ask someone their age directly,
Right.
especially a woman.
Okay.
But again, by adding that little phrase before the question,
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference.
Uh-huh.
It shows he's not meaning to be rude.
Right.
He's just trying to make conversation.
Interesting. So these small phrases,
Yeah.
they're not just, filler words.
Right.
They're actually super important for understanding those social rules.
They really are. It's like knowing the secret handshake.
It is.
They show a cultural awareness,
Right.
and that can really help build a good connection and avoid those, awkward fumbles.
This is already making me rethink how I approach these little chats. It's not just about the words you say. It's about understanding those subtle cues
Yeah,
and the cultural context, too.
absolutely. And that brings us to another super useful phrase
Okay.
that you'll hear a lot in English conversations, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
But I'd never really thought about how it worked.
Oh, okay. So let's say you're giving someone feedback on a project, and you want to be honest, but also encouraging.
Right.
You might say, don't get me wrong, I think this is a great starting point, but I have a few suggestions to make it even better.
So it's like a way to show your good intentions before you say something that could be critical.
Exactly. It helps to avoid misunderstandings.
Gotcha.
It makes sure your message is understood the way you intended it, which is so important when you're trying to build relationships.
These phrases, they're like magic words for communication.
They really are. And you know what?
Right.
They show how important it is to be indirect
Okay.
in English-speaking cultures. It's not about being vague. It's about finding that sweet spot between being honest and being respectful.
This is making so much sense.
Yeah.
I'm seeing these simple phrases in a whole new light.
I love that. And speaking of phrases, did you notice how the driver ended one of his questions?
Uh-huh.
He said, what about yourself?
I did notice that, and it sounded a little off.
You're right. Grammatically, it's not quite right.
Yeah.
The correct way would be, what about you?
Right.
But here's the thing.
Right.
You hear, what about yourself, so often in everyday English
Okay.
that it's become completely acceptable.
So sometimes breaking the rules actually makes you sound more natural.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance between accuracy and natural flow.
Okay, so we've unpacked these phrases and how they work. What other interesting things did you find in this taxi ride conversation?
Well, there are some pretty fascinating cultural insights in there, too. Like, remember how the driver used the phrase born and raised to emphasize his American identity?
Interesting. It's like he's grounding himself
Yeah.
in a specific place and culture.
Right. And when he mentions his Colombian heritage, he highlights how important that cultural background is in shaping who we are.
It's amazing how much these little comments reveal about people and their backgrounds.
Right. It makes you realize how much is communicated beyond just the words themselves.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of language and culture to reveal all these hidden meanings.
And that's what makes small talk so fascinating. It's not just about filling the silence.
Right.
It's a window into someone's world, a way to connect. And it's really a vital tool for building relationships.
Well, I'm hooked. I'm ready to dive deeper into this conversation and see what else we can uncover about mastering the art of small talk in English.
Let's do it. Okay, so you ready to jump back into that taxi and see what else we can learn?
Yeah, I'm ready to uncover more of those little things that can make or break a conversation.
Well, remember that moment when the driver asked, "Do you speak Spanish?"
I do. I was kind of wondering about that, especially because he had just mentioned having Colombian heritage.
Right. It's such a small moment. But it says a lot about how we use language to try and connect with other people.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't speak much Spanish himself, the driver is acknowledging the passenger's potential connection to that part of his background.
It's like he's opening a door to connect on a deeper level.
Exactly. It shows how these small talk moments can actually lead to bigger conversations about who we are and where we come from.
It's like those simple questions can spark something much more meaningful.
Now, while we're talking about questions, let's think about some of the possible traps of small talk.
Right.
You know those times when a question, even if you mean well, can lead to an awkward silence?
Oh, you mean like when you accidentally step on someone's toes?
Exactly. Like when the driver asks the passenger about her age.
Right.
That's a classic example of a question that can be too personal, especially in English-speaking cultures.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that what's considered polite in one culture can be totally different in another.
Absolutely. So it's always best to be careful.
Right.
Especially when you're just getting to know someone. Instead of asking right out about things like age or income or if they're married. Try focusing on topics that are more likely to spark a comfortable conversation.
Gotcha. So what are some good topics for small talk?
You really can't go wrong with talking about the weather or what's happening in the news or travel experiences. Hobbies are always a great way to start a conversation. And you can always compliment someone on their outfit or maybe a cool accessory they're wearing.
Those are all great ideas. They feel so much more open than those really personal questions.
Exactly. And if you're ever stuck, you can always ask, "What do you do for a living?"
Oh, that's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. It's a natural way to learn about someone.
Right. It can lead to all sorts of interesting conversations about what they're passionate about, their career path, or even their dreams for the future.
This is so helpful. I'm starting to see small talk. Not as something to be afraid of, but as a way to connect with people.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the more confident you'll feel. You know, practice makes perfect.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to try it out more.
That's the spirit. Now, before we finish up, I want to touch on one more really important part of small talk. Nonverbal communication.
Oh, you mean like body language?
Yeah, things like that. Eye contact.
Right.
These nonverbal cues are a big deal in how people see you. Like making eye contact shows you're paying attention. And interested, and smiling can make you seem approachable and friendly. But, you know, crossing your arms or looking away can make you seem bored or uninterested, even if you're not.
It's amazing how much we communicate without even saying a word.
It really is. So as you're practicing your small talk, pay attention to what your body is saying.
It's like adding that extra polish to your communication skills.
Now, before we move on, did anything else stand out to you from that taxi conversation?
You know, I was curious about that phrase, the good old US of A. It sounded so American.
You're right. It is. It's a casual and often kind of playful way to refer to the United States. And it's often used with a sense of pride or nostalgia.
It's like a little shout out to his home country.
Exactly. And it kind of ties back to that idea of identity and belonging that we were talking about.
These little language nuggets are so interesting.
They are. They show how much we can learn even from these everyday conversations.
I'm so glad we took the time to break down this taxi ride. It's amazing what we can find in these normal interactions.
It just goes to show how powerful language is and how it shapes our understanding of the world.
Well, I've got to say, after this deep dive,
yeah,
I'm feeling much more confident about small talk in English.
That's great to hear. Remember, the key is to keep practicing.
Yeah.
Stay curious.
Okay.
And look for those chances to learn about other cultures.
I'm ready to put all of this into practice.
That's the spirit. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Ooh, I like it. What is it?
Think about all the different ways we use language to show who we are.
You mean like how the driver talked about being born and raised in the USA?
Exactly. And how he mentioned his Colombian heritage. Those little details tell us so much about a person and what's important to them.
It's like those casual phrases.
Yeah.
Give us a peek into their personal story.
Exactly. So as you keep learning English, pay attention to those subtle clues. They can unlock a whole world of information about the people you meet and their cultures.
That's a great reminder. It's not just about learning the words.
Right.
It's about understanding the people behind them.
And that's what makes learning a language so rewarding.
Okay, so before we say goodbye, let's do a quick recap of some of the vocabulary we've talked about today.
Sounds good. We talked about nosy, which means being a little too curious about other people's personal stuff.
Okay.
It's important to be aware of what might be considered intrusive in English-speaking cultures.
Like asking about someone's age right away.
Right. That might not be the best way to start a conversation.
Okay, what else?
We also talked about the word heritage, which means the traditions and achievements and beliefs that are passed down through generations.
It's like your cultural inheritance.
Exactly, the things that make your background unique.
And lastly, we heard the phrase born and raised.
Right, which emphasizes a strong connection to a place.
Like a way of saying, this is where I'm from, this is part of me.
These are just a few examples. You'll come across so many more as you keep learning English that will help you understand the world around you better.
I'm feeling so motivated to keep learning.
That's fantastic. And remember, the more you immerse yourself in the language, the easier it will become.
This deep dive has been so insightful.
Good.
I have a whole new appreciation for small talk now.
That's wonderful to hear. Now go out there and practice those conversation skills.
I will.
And don't worry about making mistakes. It's all part of the process.
That's right. Sometimes the best conversations are the unexpected ones.
I agree.
Until next time, everyone, happy chatting. Wow, we've really dug deep into this taxi conversation, haven't we?
We have. It's fascinating how much we can learn from these everyday little chats.
It feels like we've unlocked the secrets to small talk success.
And you know those softening phrases we keep talking about? If you don't mind me saying so's. And then, don't get me wrong.
Right.
They're more than just being polite.
Okay.
They show a deeper understanding of how things work in English-speaking cultures.
It's like they're the secret code to smooth social interactions.
Exactly. They show you, understand those unwritten rules of communication, that it's about respect, avoiding conflict, making everyone feel comfortable.
It's like speaking the language of politeness.
You got it. And, mastering those nuances can really change how people see you.
Okay.
It shows you're not just saying the words, but you're getting the culture behind them.
It makes me realize learning a language is so much more than just the rules.
It is.
It's about making those connections with people.
Absolutely. And small talk, simple as it seems, is often the first step.
I used to think small talk was just filling the silence.
Yeah.
But now I see it as a way to bridge those cultural gaps.
I love that.
And make real connections.
The more you practice, the more natural it will feel.
I'm ready to take all this and just go for it.
That's the spirit. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes along the way.
That's true. Those little fumbles are all part of learning.
They are. So keep practicing, stay curious, and embrace those opportunities to learn from different cultures.
Well, I'm feeling a lot more confident in my English communication skills.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
This deep dive has been so helpful.
I'm glad, small talk may seem like just chit chat.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really powerful tool for building connections and understanding each other better.
It's like a little window into someone's world.
Exactly. So keep those conversations going and keep exploring the fascinating world of language.
Until next time, everyone, happy chatting.